Hi guys, what's up? It's Brianna Muller Green, co-owner of designfordollars.com, checking in with you on New Year's Day 2019. Happy New Year. What are you guys all up to? We are, as you know, I've been sick for a few days, so now I think I gave it to the rest of the family. Yay. So everyone's kind of moving slow around here. I ran out and ran a few errands, hit a few after New Year's sales, and wanted to check in with you guys to see if you're already starting to crush some 2019 goals. And I wanted to discuss with you guys some amazing brand building ideas that I have come up with. And so I'm going to elaborate on one way that you can generate ideas for building a brand by kind of like poking around in your own timeline of, basically what you've been through in your own life. It's interesting. I'll use myself as an example and kind of point out some things that I've experienced in my life or learned in my life or that I'm talented at, that lend themselves really well to brand building. And then hopefully that will give you guys some ideas as far as maybe some things in your past that are very similar or that you didn't even realize could be an asset, like something that you can monetize. So basically, I'll just use myself. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go through my history, my past, and kind of share the highlights of some things that would maybe lend themselves well to some brand building ideas. And those of you that are already enrolled in Brandability, we've been talking about this already just a little bit, even though we don't technically launch until January 7th. We can't help ourselves. And I've really been finding some pretty cool ideas out online that I'm starting to share. So anyway, I'll quit rambling. I'll get to the point here. Let me just basically walk you through from birth to now, what sorts of things you can kind of dig up in your past and potentially build a brand around. Okay. And this is, something that I say over and over again, that the 2019, okay, we're in it. There's really no better time to be a regular person that just has really big dreams and wants to have a flexible lifestyle and wants to build something for themselves. And, like the e-commerce space is prime for that. You don't have to know computer technology. You don't have to know necessarily how to build a business. There are a lot of things you don't have to know yourself because there are just so many tools that you can use to make things that were kind of like once unattainable, very attainable and very accessible now. Okay, so a few things about me that lend itself well to brand building. One would be I'm obviously an entrepreneur and I come from a line of entrepreneurs. My parents and both sets of grandparents all were self-employed. And so it was interesting that I actually did not start my adult career in self-employment. But that in and of itself, if that's something similar in your family, like a line of electricians or a line of contractors, whatever it is career-wise that you might have as a common thread in your family is something you know like the back of your hand. And so that's a really good idea for building a brand around, right? And you can niche down and get down into a sub niche and get even more interesting. But that's a good way to start with doing some brainstorming. I was born in the 80s, so I'm obsessed with everything 80s. brand building idea, right? 80s and 90s stuff, paraphernalia, apparel, even design aspects are really, really in right now. A couple of the e-commerce conference logos that I absolutely love have kind of like an 80s flair to them. They're kind of like rainbow retro. What are I don't know how to describe it other like than the strings of stripes that are colorful. Anyway, the point is a lot of those design elements are in, and you can design a whole brand around kind of like a throwback like that to something that you're just passionate about or that you're interested in. Let's see here. Where else do I want to go? Those of you that were at Ecom Chicago or Midwest Ecom, I've already talked a little bit about this, but the whole side hustle thing, even though that's a coined term now, that's another thing that's like a something that I know really well, because I literally was from childhood constantly had like 10 jobs going at all times. And so that's something that I've started to recognize in adulthood. Some of those things that seemed silly when I was a kid, like I was obsessed with organizing and cleaning and building things and working out problems and creating lists. And I would like make lists of lists, right? So now in adulthood, those are things that are strengths. And then those are things that also lend themselves well to kind of creating more ideas for brand building, like characteristics like that you recognize in yourself. Sports, that's an obvious one, right? But like, think about those of you that are maybe were in sports as a child or have kids that are in sports right now, and maybe they're not mainstream sports, so they're underrepresented. So I was a figure skater. I competed from 4 to like, when was I done? Probably 16-ish. And so that's definitely a brand that I have kind of going slowly on the back burner because of my extensive experience with traveling and competing. I was second in the nation for an event at the intermediate level for figures. I also spent time in my childhood, many, many years snowboarding. And so there's a potential brand idea. I played soccer for a few years. Not gonna lie, I was not very good at it. Oh, I don't like running. Let's see, what else did I do sports wise? Oh, ballet. I had to weightlift as a figure skater. We were in a very tight program for training. And so we had to take dance lessons. We had to take ballet. We had to train several hours a day, and we had to do weightlifting and everything. So those are all areas of experience. So think about those things that you did as a child. Maybe you were an amazing swimmer or a hockey player or something like that. And maybe your kids even do that now. Those are all ideas. You guys know that my former career for 8 years was in teaching. So besides just straight up being in the teaching niche, there's things that are now really obvious to me in my past that are related to education and teaching and learning that would actually make really good brands as well. So one of those things, and a few of you guys on Facebook were in this with me, but in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I was in the advanced learning program, which was like the gifted and talented program, right? They like gave you a test, and I don't know what parameters they tested you on, but and so we were put part-time into like an alternative learning environment that was super unstructured and free for us to like kind of figure out what we wanted to learn on our own. And so later on in life, way later, as I became a teacher, I also taught some advanced placement courses for kids that were accelerated. And so that's got us like a special place in my heart as a student of it and as a teacher of it. Now, here's what's really cool. I wouldn't have known this until years later, but, like when I was in college, another educational job I did was working at a children's home as a substitute teacher. So I didn't have a degree yet, and we have several children's homes here, which are residential schools that are basically run like boot camp style or military or even like prison style in some of the cases. And you know, not that I grew up in the worst of neighborhoods, but you guys that went to Jamestown know that it's a very diverse community, and I've got friends from all walks of life, and I have a special place in my heart for working with kids in general. And so I found myself working there, and I loved that. It was super challenging and super tough. And that's like a whole nother brand building idea, you know, whether you take that from the teacher side, because there aren't that many supportive teaching websites geared so sub-niched down as like focusing so much on like at-risk youth or gifted and talented. So you could take it from the teacher's viewpoint, or you could even take it as like a parent's viewpoint as well. Some other things that I was thinking about, all sorts of fun jobs that I had growing up. So I was always really into fashion, and I started working really, really young. I guess because I was in an entrepreneurial family, and I like never felt like they would give me enough hours. I'd be like 12 years old, and I'd be like, not enough hours. I need like, so when I was employed, if they wouldn't give me enough hours, I would just get another job and then juggle those hours on top. And then if they wouldn't give me enough hours, I would juggle those. So at one point in time, I worked at the Piercing Pagoda in the middle of the mall, the gold jewelry store, which makes sense now why like pimp chains, right? Like why like big, huge, gaudy jewelry. Because I think when I was 17 and 18, I probably spent my whole paycheck at the Piercing Pagoda because I would stand there and stare in the glass cases. And next thing you know, I'm buying myself a herringbone the size 3 inches wide. And at the same time, I was working at Victoria's Secret and the Gap as a kid. And so I have those experiences both as a business owner now and as a retailer, a retailer, as a retail salesperson, a customer sales associate, and then also like, you know, fashion and merchandising. I worked for several years in retail. And so that is something that I have an interest and a passion in, right? Little things like that, like jobs that you've worked that for whatever reason resonated with you. Like start with that when you're trying to come up with brand building ideas. Hi, Lance. How you doing? Happy New Year. All right. Some other strange things that kind of I was thinking about. I've talked about, I took cotillion classes for a while. So I don't know if you guys even know what that is. I don't even know if they offer that now. So there, you can Google that. That could be interesting. I was, I don't know, maybe only 13 years old at the time. I don't know, maybe a little bit older than that. I think I was in high school, late middle school, early high school. Other things that I did as a child for some side hustles that, you know, think about things like, you know, I never had a pet, but I used to do like dog walking. I also used to do babysitting. And so those are all, you know, things that are really cute and fun brand niche ideas too. And there's so many ways that you can spin this. Like, don't think of brand building as necessarily having to be like very, very linear. It doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm going to sell X, Y, and Z to these particular customers. There's a lot you can do with it as far as educating people or advocating for something. So think about like if you're really, if it resonates with you to want to help kids with vocational education or I don't know, maybe alternative educational means or becoming entrepreneurs at a young age. Like you could build a whole brand around just a little segment of that, right? And monetize it in a bunch of different ways. What else? Think about your educational past. If you have a doctorate in something, that's a really great niche. So I'm sure I don't have my doctorate. I would love to go back at some point and get it in something. But there's a niche idea. My past, I had two masters. I've told you guys. I got a bachelor's in biology. I'm certified to teach chemistry and biology in middle school. And then I went and got the master's in bio as well, and master's in advanced certification in school building leadership. And so those are two really big areas that I could build brands around too. One could be the educational components of it, or it could be related to finding careers in those fields. It could be related to being an administrator and providing other administrators with supportive resources and connections and paraphernalia, like, print on demand stuff. So think about the career you're in now. If you are in nursing or in elderly care, your family owns a landscaping business. Those are all things that you can even use as your brand and then beef up and monetize an online presence and really build the brand online. Oh, what else here? Other things that, other jobs that I've worked that would be surprising, but that lend themselves well to some brand ideas would be, I used to work at off-track betting. So there was an interesting little tidbit of information. So I know a thing or two about gambling on horse races. I was that was in college too. I think it was 19. And I was one of the ticket girls. So you would place your bets. And then I also got into poker, and I played poker for a while. And so there's a brand idea. Being a science teacher, there's a brand idea. There's a million things I could do with that, right? For a while, I taught an after-school program called Star Lab. We had a grant where we were able to purchase an inflatable planetarium, and then you could get inside of it. It was small enough that you could put it in like a gymnasium or something. And so I created curriculum around that. And so there's another brand idea. I could potentially build a brand around that with supporting curriculum. And again, a lot of these examples are teaching, but that's my past. Obviously, I've had my last 20 years where I haven't even mentioned all of the e-commerce stuff that I could build a brand around, all the things that I've done with eBay and Amazon and merch, and also other things. You guys know that I've been open about the family oriented brand that we're now building, and that I'm showing you guys in Brandability. And we've really been into motorsports for the past probably 10 years. I've been around them since I was a kid. My dad owned an auto body accessories shop before all of the chain stores came in. And then, my brother had a little motorcycle growing up. And then I met my husband, and he and I have brought our daughter up around four-wheeling and snowmobiles and travel trailers and camping and dirt bikes and stuff like that. And so it's easy to us. Like, we live it. And we know that there are gaps in, certain things that we want to buy that don't exist. So, like, I'll find them now, I'll make them and produce them for the community. Also, I met him because my parents, after they sold their auto accessories store, they purchased a craft and hobby shop, and that ended up being in the family for over 40 years. But also in school, I worked, well, actually at both places, but eventually when it was just a hobby shop, I worked there and got to learn a lot about different hobbies, everything from filling CO2 tanks for paintball to train layouts to RC car racing. And in fact, I ended up helping my parents run their RC car racing track. And that's where I met my husband. And I eventually got into it myself. And so like RC car racing is a really cool, passionate sport. And if you're not in it, you don't know all of the little nuances involved, but you might be in something like that too. There might be something in your past that was like a fun hobby that you could leverage too. A couple other things. Think about the not so positive things in your life as well. Think about things that you have gone through or currently struggle with that others could potentially benefit from more education about, advocacy for, or awareness of. So here's a real simple one. Many of us have worn glasses, right? I was literally I was past whatever the limit is for legal blindness, but still able to drive and, all of that stuff. I had really, really high prescription, and just, was it last year? Yeah, a little over a year ago, I got LASIK surgery. That was life-changing for me. Why the heck I waited 37 years to do it, I don't know. I was a figure skater competing. I would not have my glasses on. I didn't have contacts back then. I couldn't see anything, and that was when I was a little kid. So there's something that I struggled with my whole entire life. So I know how it is. I know what it's like to be an athlete, to try to deal with that. And so there was a lot of ideas I have around that. The other thing is a lot of you deal with, life-altering circumstances. We've all had tragedies in our lives, and sometimes we feel compelled to, help other people through those sorts of things, or share our experiences with them. And so those can be really powerful ideas for brand building. A lot of you guys have been following me forever. In 2016, I had a double pulmonary embolism. What the heck is that, right? Like, I had that when I was 36 years old. Bizarre, very rare for that to happen. And so that is a thing that I find as a commonality sometimes when I meet people and I find out that they've gone through the same thing, and it's like, no way. You get it because you've both gone through it. And so that is something that we all have things like this that we've experienced that I could potentially build a brand around. Awareness of that, advocacy for it, prevention of it, and then monetize it with various elements. So, that being said, I've got little Miss Luna over here, and it's her last day home before she has to head back to school. So I'm going to kind of wrap things up, but I do want to remind you guys that Brandability starts. The launch is January 7th. So you guys have until Monday to get in at $497. Tell you right now, straight up, it is underpriced. It is going to be more than that. You're getting a major killer value right now with the action taker discount, right? We call it the beta user program. So that's going to close down though as soon as we open up on January 7th. If you do pay and register today, we'll get you right in the group already, because we're starting to trickle in content a little bit early. Everybody's getting to know each other. You don't need to if you're the type of person that just like wants to go in there and kind of do their own thing and build their thing and get out. That's fine too. You don't have to be all chatty. But that's kind of the benefit of it. And you can share as much as you want or as little as you want. But you know, the thing is, you get something that I've never seen in a program before, and that is access to a whole squad of people that have been successful at this in various areas. And you guys get us directly. Like, you get to ask us questions, pick our brain. We will show you what doesn't work, what works, what we'll give you our viewpoint. If you want to, you know, run some ideas by us, like, do you think this is good? Do you think this sucks? That is absolutely what we're there for. And we're not kidding. We're going to hold your hand and help you build your brand. We've got several people that said, you know, I'm like, it's kind of scary. Like, I feel it's a big thing, right? And for a lot of you, like, it's absolutely a lot of money, but I was going to say, for a lot of you, it's like, you know, you're building your dream. You just want to have a flexible lifestyle with some extra money, and maybe you could leave your job. That's what we want to help you guys do. We want to help you guys build this thing. It's going to be sellable. It's going to be scalable. You're going to be able to manage it when you kind of go off on your own, which will kind of be never, because we'll just leave you guys in the group so that you can continue to learn as we learn, right? As we encounter new things, we share those things with you. And I think that's what makes us special as well, is we're constantly evolving. We're constantly changing the way that we do business. We're constantly changing the way we do our personal businesses, because e-com changes like every 5 minutes, you know? Like, every day that goes by, there's something different. And if you're not in the trenches, if you're not doing, or if you're not closely connected to those processes, you're like obsolete very quickly. So you have the benefit of that. We have done it successfully. We are doing it successfully, and you guys are going to be able to watch. And maybe that could be a negative thing sometimes. Maybe that we're so open and forthright and blunt and honest about some stuff. But like, I just want you guys to see what you can do, and what's attainable and what's realistic, and like, show you real examples so you know what the heck to do. You know, the most important thing when you get into some of these courses is, it's like, here's the content, and go do it. And you're like, okay, you learn the content, but like the actual application of it in the field is totally different. It's like when I was teaching science, reading it in a book and like going and doing it with support and guidance and help. It is so much more powerful to do, and to have somebody show you, and to really just like get in there and see how things work, rather than just passively reading about it or watching it happen. So I'm excited. I know everybody in there is excited. We would love to have you guys be a part of the course. You'll always get future updates. We already, you know how fast we move. 2 seconds after we announce it, we're like, oh, wait, there's some more content we want to put in there. Oh, throw this in there. There's going to be all sorts of stuff in there. And as the price increases, those of you that are in there, your grandfathered in there, guys, you're getting it all. You're getting everything. And the important thing is, too, it's a sellable asset. You're like building yourself a digital asset. You could sell this. It's a business. And I think that's pretty freaking cool. So I said I was going and I didn't go. So Luna, do I need to get out of here? Do I need to get off?
Yes.
Yes, she says. All right. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to tune in. Let's see, what day are we on? Tuesday. So I don't think I have much of anything planned for the week, but I will certainly be checking in with you guys like I always do. Brandability starts Monday, January 7th. Please join us. We'd love to have you. If you are catching this on Facebook, please like and share this with anyone that is looking to build a flexible lifestyle and just wants to get off that freaking, you know, hamster wheel of the 9 to 5, then come join us and we'll help you with that. And if you're catching this on YouTube, please subscribe if you enjoy the content and want to see more. And like, share, and comment. I try to get to everybody if you have questions. So thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you later.
Mom, look my beauty.